hit record right now. Okay, so we're recording for our Women Thriving Unapologetically with Melanie Dorian, and we're getting ready to go live on the radio.
Radio is awesome.
It is. It's fun. I never thought I'd do this, but when the opportunity came about, I was like, you got to say yes when your heart's telling you to say yes.
Agreed.
Yeah. So if you are listening on the Facebook group, we definitely leave some comments or questions that you have for Melanie, and hopefully she'll have a couple minutes at the end of the show that we can pop over and answer those. And if she can't do it right away, we'll invite her into the group so she can come in and be a part of the group and answer your questions and share how you can get in touch with her for sure.
I do have a couple minutes, so I did plan some extra time so we can continue the
Awesome.
conversation after the show if and when needed and answer some
Yeah.
questions.
Sounds awesome. Okay. And just so you know, oh, here we go.
I was going to say 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and send the feed your way. Have a great show.
Thank you.
Welcome to Women Thriving Unapologetically with Lynsie McCowan. Over the next hour, you will hear raw, honest, and inspiring conversation between Lynsie and her guests, discussing how to thrive, live joyfully, and abundantly in spite of life's challenges. Now, here is your host, Lynsie McCowan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women Thriving Unapologetically. I'm your host, Lynsie McCowan. And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic about how we can change the way that we manage chronic disease. And we're actually even going to be talking about the current state of our healthcare system and what can be on the horizon. And it's a very uplifting and hopeful conversation that I feel like a lot of you are going to resonate with. So before we invite in our incredible guests, what we're going to do is what we always do, which is so important for us as women, is to take a moment to stop and pause and breathe. Rest can happen in many different ways, and rest can happen in just the smallest moments. And we can take our power back by saying, I'm going to stop in this moment. I'm going to feel into my body and I'm going to breathe. Because rest is a form of protest against all the overdoing, overstriving, the pushing, the overwhelm, the anxiety. So in this moment, just feel into the sacredness of your body and the power that you have to reclaim the sovereignty. Reclaim your choice. And so we'll take a couple deep breaths here in your body, maybe even placing your hands upon your body. And just sensing the power that your body has to heal itself if given the right environment, the right support, the wisdom and the strength of your own body. And so one way that we can really celebrate this is just allow the corners of your mouth just to curl up slightly, just this essence of a smile, and just simply say yes. Yes, yes. Yes to your body's power. Yes to your own sovereignty. Yes to your own choice. And then let's go ahead and make our way back so we can dive into this conversation with Melanie Dorian. Now, I met Melanie at an event that she did here locally in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I am so impressed with her because Melanie really believes that we can change the face of healthcare and disease management, and that this is an incredibly important thing that we do. And she's an integrative and functional nurse practitioner, founder and medical director at Be Vital Health Center. She focuses on managing and reversing chronic diseases, disease prevention, and corporate wellness. Her approach is grounded in nursing, functional and naturopathic medicine philosophies. She studied naturopathic medicine at Bastyr University in Washington before doing her nurse practitioner degree at Seattle University. And she has received advanced training in geriatric medicine, obesity management, nutrition, exercise science, herbal medicine, and genetics, which allows for a really unique approach to health concerns. And Melanie is also a chronic disease survivor, so she knows what she's talking about because she's been through it herself. And she has been able to reverse multiple chronic illnesses and is now dedicated to helping others. So she has her own journey to help inspire her, helping others. And so she thrives to support patients who want to feel their best, whatever their role is in life. And so welcome, Melanie.
Thank you.
Yay. So happy you're here.
I'm really excited to be here. This is super empowering and exciting and uplifting to be able to share both you and I's thoughts. And when we chatted a couple months ago, probably now for the first time, just realizing how much we align in what we want to do, through like separate fields that we're doing it. But this is really great.
Yeah. And you were not always on this medical path. So often we have a particular goal set in mind or a particular vision for our life, and then something comes in and redirects us. And that happened to you. You were actually a pro cyclist at the age of 18 on the track to the Olympics. So tell us a little bit about that and what kind of set you on the path to this medical career.
Well, I'm going to share a little part of my story, and the part that really, really directed what is now my career. In December of 2001, I was in a hospital room in Montreal, and I was spiking 102 fever, and I couldn't breathe. And the doctor who was holding my chest X-ray asked me, he's like, "How many packs per day do you smoke?" And I looked at him and I said, "You're joking, right?" And I said, "I'm an athlete. I've never smoked anything in my life." He said, "Well, your lungs look like smoker's lungs. You have severe pneumonia, and you might have scarring for life in your lungs." So that day, I retired from professional sports and I abandoned my Olympic dreams. I was on the Canadian national team for cycling. I had been national champion, North American champion, and the summer before in 2000, I was trying to qualify for the Olympic team, for the Canadian Olympic mountain bike team. And after this event, I realized I had been healthy. I had been fit, but I wasn't healthy. So a couple months later, I packed my 4-door blue Chevy Cavalier and I drove 12 hours south. I crossed the Canadian border, left Canada, and drove all the way to the Blue Ridge Mountains here in beautiful Virginia. And I just stayed here for as long as I could. I needed to just hide. There's one person in Virginia who knew me, who knew my name, but no one else knew me. And I wanted to be anonymous. I didn't even use my real name for an entire year. I did not want to explain to one more person what my next race was going to be, or was I going to try for the Olympics again? So I just needed to rest. And I entered this journey realizing, again, I had been fit, but not healthy. I entered this journey of, I'm going to figure out what's going on. I'm going to go get some help, and I'm going to get healthy again. And I would hear, "You're anemic, take this iron pill." Why, doc? Because I eat all the right foods. We don't know. I have breathing issues still. Refer to a pulmonologist. Go see the pulmonologist. Say, "You have asthma. Here's an inhaler." Why, doc? There's no reasons why I should have asthma. We don't know. My favorite one was, "Well, you have a lot of health issues and you're tired a lot. You probably have depression. Here's an antidepressant." So after over a year of this, I realized this is bullshit. Like, this system is not going to get me better. So at that point, I knew what I had to do. And I went to medical school.
Now,
So
I want to stop you there. I love that you're like, okay, I'm not getting solutions from this medical. So I'm going to go to medical school and figure this out for myself.
I'm like, well, I mean, and I was becoming debilitated. I could see the progression. I was not in good shape, and I was accumulating more and more health issues. And I could see a pretty significant decline in my health. Even after resting and after doing all the right things, eating the right things, taking supplements, I wasn't getting better and I was declining. So I was really concerned. And I had all these goals. It certainly wasn't depression. When I had a good day, I'm extremely motivated and there's lots I want to do. I'm a happy person, even when I was sick, but my health was just not there. So I put myself through pre-med, and then I went through naturopathic medical school at Bastyr University in Seattle. Second year of medical school, I could read my lab results. So I'm sitting in the medical library and I took over an entire table. My classmates hated me for it. I'm surrounded by medical textbooks. I have my binder of health stuff because I had put everything in a binder, all my labs, my imaging, all that. I could read my lab results. So I started looking at all my labs supported by medical textbooks and all that. And I realized, wow, at least half of my health issues are right there in my lab results. All the way from 10 years before, I had markers and evidence in my blood work of what was going on now. And I realized, wow, the allopathic medical system is completely failing me. Why did all these providers miss it? I had severe nutritional deficiencies, not just a little borderline, severe. I had hormonal issues. I had multiple chronic infections, and I had autoimmune diseases. None of these multiple providers had put these pieces together. So I did. I put the pieces together. I formed a team of providers to help me with all these issues that I had just uncovered. I did more testing, and then I did a comprehensive management, pretty similar to what I do now, a really comprehensive management plan. And after a couple months, I started feeling a lot better. I was able to start exercising. And this year in March, so a couple months ago, I raced the Miami Half Marathon. And not only did I win my age group by a lot, I got 21st women overall out of 800 women in a pretty massive race in the US. The Miami Half Marathon is a big deal. So what I want to do now with this story and with my career is to give people hope. You don't have to give up the things you love because you have a chronic illness. You can still thrive in spite of having and living with chronic illness. But also, I want to give people hope that you can prevent chronic illnesses. If someone had really cared and put the pieces together in my lab results, they would have seen what was going on. And some of my chronic illnesses and the damage that was done to my body could have been prevented. I know, because that's what I do for my career now. I prevent disease processes from turning into a full-blown disease or prevent more damage from being done. So I'm on this mission of giving people hope that there's a different way of doing healthcare and there's a different way of managing chronic illnesses. Because my story, I lost a lot. I lost a thriving career in sports that I absolutely loved. I loved being paid to ride my bike, to travel around the world, to meet people, climb the biggest, most beautiful mountains in the world. That was my job. I loved it. And I wasn't ready to retire, but I had to because my body was broken. And the system failed me. And it's not because I didn't have access. I was on the Canadian national team, had access to all the best national team doctors. I was seeing annually my primary care provider. I was doing everything right, taking what they told me to take, yet I was getting sicker. And that is a story that I hear time and time and time again. And that's not okay.
So why do you think that under the current healthcare model that they're missing so much? Like they're not really paying attention to all these different markers? What is it about our current system that it doesn't allow for doctors to really see?
So the allopathic medical model, which is the Western traditional medical model, is a disease management and symptoms management model. So what they did in medicine is they took a model from emergency medicine, from urgent care and orthopedics, and they applied that everywhere. They applied that to primary care. They applied that to chronic disease management. And guess what? It's a different field. It's a different category. It's a different beast. Like it's not the same. So that model applied. So the urgent care and emergency care model applied to primary care and chronic disease management doesn't work at all. I mean, it's estimated in 2030 that 50% of the population, adult population, will be living with a chronic illness in 7 years. Chronic diseases are not getting better in the US. We are ranked 37th out of 40th in the world for healthcare outcomes. I mean, we flunk. I'm an athlete. If I get 37th out of 40th in a competition, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
Like you suck, right? Like, so that but also by us consumers adhering to that model, we are facilitating and we're continuing that model. So the model that looks at, okay, you have a broken bone, align the bone, put a cast, send you home. You have this symptom, it's pneumonia, get an antibiotic, go home. I'm very thankful for that model. At one point in my life, in my career, I had 5 concussions. 4 of those, I got back on the bike and I finished the race. Let me tell you, I received allopathic care and I was very thankful for it. I have 3 broken bones and I received allopathic care and I was thankful for it. There's a time and a place for it, but chronic disease is not it. Primary care is not it. So what's happening is that the lens, a provider who looks at lab results, the lens is to diagnose disease. If there's not a clear disease based on the algorithms that they've studied, because I studied those algorithms, I had to pass my boards for nurse practitioner. And if that blood sugar test doesn't say this number, you don't have diabetes, so you don't have issues, which is super foolish because chronic diseases develop over months and years. And if you're not trained, and the allopathic training, so any MD, DO, and nurse studies allopathic medicine, that's what that model is. And they're not trained to look at things and look at patterns and try to see if there's a process going on. They are trained and very well trained, very good at diagnosing disease. Gosh, when there's a disease process, a broken bone, and I mean, we are good at it in medicine. But what we are not good at, because that's not the training, is looking at trends and putting pieces together and looking at, well, if this doesn't change in 5 to 10 years, this might be your future. So that's what the naturopathic and functional medicine lens does. We look at things differently to try and see where are things out of balance in the body and put it together with patterns and try and see if that's going to lead to something bigger and worse later on and start reversing that process. So allopathic medicine is not there to look at trends, to try and prevent disease. That's not what they do. They're there to diagnose it and to manage the symptoms. That's it.
Yeah. And it almost sounds like, you go it for the allopathic method, it's like, it's not really catering to the individual. It's almost as if you go in, you tell them what your symptoms are, and they plug it into a system. And if you don't meet that system, then either you have something or you don't have something. That's how they diagnose you. And they're not
Yes.
actually looking and listening to you, like really, really listening and paying attention to all the different things that could be at play over a long course of time. And so, and then you become like, I think a lot of people listening to this have probably experienced frustration and going in and being like, okay, I'm not receiving one. I don't feel like I'm being really deeply listened to. And what you're offering me doesn't really fit. And so what I hear you saying is that you're really listening to your patients and you're paying attention to all of these different markers and not just plugging them into some sort of system that's going to spit out a particular result or diagnosis.
That's 100% accurate. You effectively summarized the big part of the training that allopathic practitioners receive. You're trained to very, very quickly gather the symptoms, gather the information. If you have lab results, put it in a box called an ICD-10 code. So you are diagnosed based on International Coding Diagnostic Manual, or ICD-10. So they put you very quickly into an ICD-10. And then everything else that you say that might be very pertinent and important, they kind of stop listening. Not really, but now like you're put in a box. So now they follow an algorithm that they've memorized and studied to see what's the next step. The next step is maybe follow-up testing. A prescription medication is the most common follow-up step, maybe a referral, maybe a surgery. So there's not a lot of options in these algorithms. So what we do in functional and naturopathic medicine is we don't ignore these ICD-10 codes, we use them. But when we do an intake, when we do a history, I mean, I've taken so much training in functional, naturopathic, and nursing school. It's a science and an art of doing a history to not put someone in a box quickly. I mean, sometimes I talk to someone for an hour. Sometimes people feel like it's small chat. I'm like, oh, it's not small talk. I'm assessing everything you're telling me. And I'm like now putting patterns together. And the number of times, and I always invite spouses, partners, and support system into those intake. And I'm like, so I've heard, Julie Smith's perspective on what's going on. I turn to the spouse, the partner. I'm like, so what's your experience of this? How are you living this? And I get so many clinical pearls. And then I take steps back. And I tell people, I'm going to take the 10,000 bird's eye view, 10,000 foot bird's eye view. And I'm not going to, I need to look at the whole forest. And then I come down with lab results with very targeted question. And I start looking at the specific trees. I start looking at the specific soil. I start looking at the water or the lack thereof. And then I come back up and I put the picture together. And that takes time and that takes training. And allopathic medicine doesn't do that training. But otherwise, when you study allopathic medicine, you are taught, because it's based on urgent and emergency medicine and orthopedic, you better make an assessment quickly in the ER, and they're good at it. Gosh, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make an assessment, and then you have a treatment plan right away that's already been figured out. There's not a lot of room to be creative. I put pieces together that in a creative way, and I put creative solutions attached to those things that are out of balance and what I just heard.
And I can't help but feel into what you're saying. And what comes to me when I'm listening to you is that this allopathic method is very linear approach. It's very hyper masculine. And this new approach actually brings in the ability of a little bit of the feminine wisdom that can come from allowing ourselves to see the whole picture, pulling in from all aspects of the environment, and allowing us to be more creative in our approaches, and even, dare I say, a little bit intuitive.
Oh, yes. I mean, this medicine is a science and an art, and there's a lot of art. In what I do, there's a lot of art, but you become a good artist by doing art. You don't, you're born with a certain amount of talent, but then you have to really hone in and really work at it and study more and do it and practice and listen to people and put things together and try things and work with, we call them members and not patients, work with members, learn more, grow, and be flexible. This is like totally stepping into your feminine of being very flexible and having the ability to pull from all sorts of different directions and things, and just being okay with it, just going with the flow, receiving the information and then putting it together in a really creative way. And creative, not like creative outside of science, but creative, like using science and medicine in a creative way. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I'm not a musician. I'm not like, I don't paint. I don't, do art in that regard. But what I do is I creatively put medical and science pieces together. And that's where I'm an artist. I create protocols that are outside the box, still evidence-based, science-based, but I put pieces together in a way that's artistic. But it's needed. We need healers who are creators and who create and who do this with pieces that are a little bit outside of the box, outside of the linear algorithms. For chronic disease, remember the context is chronic disease.
Yeah.
I don't do that. When you have a broken bone, go see the orthopedist and the ER, right? Like, I mean, I can help, but your cast is going to look pretty. But
when you have these complex issues, we need something where we can actually have a multiple support system. I mean, and you have that on your staff as well, which I'd love to talk about when we come back from this break, but we are up to our first break of the show. So if you are listening and you love the show, consider being a sponsor or a supporter of Women Thriving Unapologetically. Our mission here is to provide a global platform for women to expand their reach, share their messages and work. And each show aims to inspire, support, and equip women to reach their highest potential and step into their power to lead, love, and work and live unapologetically. So if this resonates with you, then definitely reach out to me at thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com, and I'll share with you how we can make this happen. We'll be right back after this short break.
Okay, good. We're all clear. Back in a couple.
Okay.
How long is the break?
2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes.
Just enough for them to do a little commercial.
Yeah.
Radio always has to have a little commercial.
Of course. I know. It's great. My show is pretty short on the radio, so we don't have to do commercial breaks. I am the commercial break.
You are the commercial break. So how are you feeling? Feeling good?
Great. Yeah. This
Okay,
is fun.
Yeah.
I love this.
Super easy. I love when the conversation just is easy and flows so well.
I think we can talk for a long time, you and I.
Seriously. I've already been thinking, it's like, oh, I want to talk to Melanie outside of the show. I have so many things I want to talk to her about.
It's perfect. We'll have to go hang out. Go on like a 4-hour hike so we can like get enough time to chat about all the things we want to chat about.
Exactly. I'm up for that for sure. Okay. I just want to check one thing. We still have to get you into a yoga class. Just saying.
Oh, I know. I know. And Susan, mm, very persistent.
She's awesome. She's
Well,
awesome.
she's great. It's just
Yeah, I know. Life is
the context of business owner and growth and single parenting, and being a trailblazer in the world in the field of medicine and corporate wellness. Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I'm going to do what I can do right here from home. I'll go for a 60-minute trail run from my backyard, right? Because I have trails right in my backyard. So, but yes, the need to, and I'm getting to that point. I'm in that point in the business where it's a transition of growth and like putting all the pieces of the support together so the owner can have more freedom and flexibility.
Yeah.
And I'm 6 years into my business, and it takes on average 10 years to get to that point as a business owner. So I'm right on track.
There we are.
Okay, coming back in just a few seconds.
Okay.
You are listening to Women Thriving Unapologetically with Lynsie McCowan. Have a question for Lynsie or her guests? Want to share your story? Email Lynsie at thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com. That's thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com. Now back to the show. Here again is Lynsie.
Hello and welcome back to Women Thriving Unapologetically. We are here today with Melanie Dorian, and we're having an incredible conversation on how our current healthcare system is, I hate to use the word broken, but it is not supportive of complex issues and chronic diseases. And here in the United States, I think, Melanie, you mentioned that up to, was it 50% of our population is suffering from chronic diseases?
By 2030,
By 2030.
Yeah, our health agencies in the US estimate that by 2030, almost 50% of the population will have a chronic illness, meaning something that's progressed over years and missed opportunity to prevent and reverse. But people are living with things that are almost permanently out of balance in their bodies, requiring more care, medications, surgeries, impacting people's life.
Yeah, and our current system is not supportive of finding the solutions for those complex problems. And I'm just kind of curious because there's a lot of fads out there in healthcare, and do you see a lot of these fads really inhibiting our natural ability to thrive?
In what way? Tell me a little bit more about the fads.
So we're talking about all these different trends around diet and how people are looking for the quick fix to things, and how oftentimes, because they're looking for that quick fix, they're not taking the time that is necessary in order for them to really regain that sovereignty over their bodies. Because our society is always telling us, oh, we can have everything right now. There's a pill for that. Every time you turn on the TV, there's a commercial for some medication where you'll have the immediate benefit of taking that pill. And how is that really hurting our ability to heal ourselves at a very deep level? Because I guess that's the question.
Yeah, and I think you really highlighted something that's important. The current allopathic medical model is a model of a pill for an ill. You have a symptom, you get a pill. You have a condition, you get a prescription, or you get a referral. It's always something quick. So we have lost especially at the primary care level, or even within specialties, the engagement of discussing diet and lifestyle as core part of a management strategy. So in the last 50 years, there's been a significant increase. Just in the last, there's been a almost 30% increase in prescription medications in the last 10 years, not because we're sicker, because we're being advertised more. So, and pharmaceutical companies, this is not a conspiracy theory, guys. Like, this is easy data to look at and to find. The pharmaceutical companies invest billions, not millions, billions every year to make consumers think that way, that it's an easy solution. If you're struggling with chronic health issues, meaning you've had things that are out of balance, you've had symptoms that have been going on for 6+ months, a couple of years, it's chronic. Whatever's going on is chronic. then what the pharmaceutical industry and now the medical model teaches us is that there's going to be a quick fix. Well, guys, there isn't. So it is hurting people and harming people in a way that it's actually, and you talk about sovereignty. When I talk to people, I say, my goal is to give you your health sovereignty back, teach you self-efficacy so you can take care of yourself, take care of your family, and help your friends, help people around you. And the quick fix, the fads that, oh, a 6-week diet. Are you kidding me? You've been sick for 6 years and you think that 6 weeks is going to fix things? I mean, it might help, and it's important to clean up the diet, but if it's not part of a comprehensive strategy where you are involved and you take a big part in your care, you take a lot of ownership, then you're most likely not going to get the long-term lasting results that you could or you should. So yes, I totally agree that, and I do believe that the fads that are out there, but also the fads are there because it's been a thought and an idea and a philosophy that's been marketed to us and promoted to us that there is going to be a quick fix. When it comes to chronic diseases, there is not a quick fix. It's just not going to happen. It's not to say that you can't improve your health quickly. I mean, on average, I see people within 4 to 6 months working with us after years of illness. At the end of working with us at Be Vital, they report complete to significant resolutions of their health issues.
And do you feel
75% of people.
do people resist that at first though, because they're just so desperate for that quick fix, or they've been told this lie? When people come to see you, do you feel like they're like they resist that? Like, I mean, because we're offering them sovereignty over and choice, and yet it's sometimes I find when I work with my clients, they want someone else to do it for them. They want the quick fix. They don't want to put the time and the effort and the energy and the investment into it, because they've been told that, you can have this easier, but it's never really a short-term solution for something that's been going on long-term in your body or your mind for perhaps even
Correct. And a
decades.
big part of the mission at Be Vital is to educate people about this. So we do free educational events almost every week to educate people on the healthcare crisis, on the different model, and on what does it take to reverse or prevent or manage holistically a chronic illness. So the members, people who come to us, oftentimes everything else has failed them. Unfortunately, I would like more people to do preventive care and come to us before they have chronic complex illness, but I am in the business of identifying, managing, and reversing chronic complex illnesses. But the people who come to us, and I mean, after a quick chat, we usually, my team and I, are able to figure out if someone is still looking for a quick fix or they're willing to really take ownership of what's going on and really be involved in their care. So we don't accept everybody into our practice at Be Vital. We accept people after an interview and a pre-education process who are ready, who are able and willing. And sometimes there's some really good reasons why people might be willing to, but they're unable to make changes. So we take people when they are ready, because our programs are involved, and reversing chronic illness is going to be involved. You're going to have to make sometimes pretty drastic changes in your diet, and you're going to have to make some adjustments in your lifestyle, and you're going to have to learn stress management, and then be able to implement any medical management that I recommend. So people who come to us are typically the ones who have tried all the quick fixes and nothing works. So they've hit in a way their rock bottom, and they're able and willing to do whatever it takes now, truly do whatever it takes to improve their health.
And I love your approach. Like you're with them for the long haul, and it's not just you. You have a whole staff of people that have a lot of various backgrounds, because you know what your specialty is, and you know what you're not good at. And so you've brought in a whole staff of people, and you also have these pillars in your business where it's not just about diagnosing something and then giving, a solution for that, but it's also, you talk about the stress management and the mind body approach to it as well. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you have these pillars in your business?
So what I did is I've been in this medicine for over 10 years now, and I hit the ground running right out of school doing chronic disease management. I was doing traditional primary care and chronic disease management, but I've always done chronic disease management. I knew that's what I wanted to do when I was in school. So And about 2 years ago, I really wanted to understand why certain people did so well and others didn't do as well. So I took a lot of time analyzing hundreds of protocols and looked at, okay, these 5 people with 5 similar conditions, these 2 people did extremely well, 1 person did okay, and 2 others didn't do well at all in terms of outcomes. What did I do differently? So I started really looking at the things that I did, the things that I didn't do, and came up with what we call our 5 pillars at Be Vital, and realize what it takes for the conditions that we treat. We don't treat everything. We treat 20, 25 things and chronic complex illnesses at Be Vital. So I realized, what do we need to do? What do I need to do? And I realized it was a diet and lifestyle program first. When we did more comprehensive diet and lifestyle support and the members received coaching, the outcomes improved tremendously. When these people had support at home, they did a lot better. So it's part of my process now. If they don't have a support system, we work with them at figuring out getting a support system. And then I tell people my programs, all of them, my corporate wellness program and my chronic disease management programs, it's a diet lifestyle coaching first. If you come to me and you just want medicine and you just want a diagnostic and you want testing done, you're in the wrong place. What I've seen in my practice 10 plus years now, that is not what works. That's an allopathic model of medicine first. No, I would like for me to not be needed often or at all. I job security, chronic disease, but I don't want it. That's not how I want my job security. So it's the 5 pillars are diet, lifestyle, coaching first. And then everybody is going to do who goes through one of my programs, pretty extensive testing, but it's very, very targeted, very specific testing, has a really good ROI, a return on investment. I do a test because if that result is abnormal, there's absolutely an action that my team and I will take based on that. A lot of the testing that is done nowadays in medicine, I'm like, why did that even get done? Like, it's not even going to change the management plan. So, and then I really look at metabolism, infections and inflammation, and then hormones. And those are the 5 pillars. So diet, lifestyle, coaching. And then I look at inflammation and metabolism, and then hormones. And I take a deep dive. So I'm 2 parts of that 5-part process. You know, our pillars, there's 5 pillars, and I'm only needed for 2 of those parts. The rest, my health coaches do that. My nurses do that. It's implemented and people are supported so that people can implement the change that is needed. I come in and I bring in pretty high level, very specific functional medicine, but this is a little bit of medicine with a lot of diet lifestyle coaching. And that's what works. My success rate went from 40 to 50%, which is still really good in chronic disease, to now it's been 2 years that I've changed the model. And our success rate is about 75% of people report complete to significant resolutions of their issues, which is unheard of in functional medicine. Was it unheard of in allopathic medicine? It's actually pretty common in functional medicine. Our success rate, I'm part of a practice management group. So they do business consulting for integrative and functional medicine clinic. And we report our data anonymously. We standardize some surveys. So what we are doing is we put hundreds of brilliant functional and integrative practitioners together. We have pooled our data and our knowledge to help each other out. We have over 20,000 data points now showing that a functional medicine, integrative medicine that has diet, lifestyle, and coaching first improves health outcomes, parameters of sleep, weight, blood sugars. This is what we're tracking, and improves this. Like 84% of people going through a program like mine reports weight loss when weight loss was a goal. Like, it's pretty cool, and sustain and maintaining the weight loss. So the 5 pillars work, but it's not medicine first. And that's where the allopathic model, but they're needed in the right context. Again, I'm not against that model. I use it. I'm integrative. When I need to prescribe, I see an infection and I need an antibiotic, I'm so thankful as a practitioner that I have access to that for my members. But oftentimes, could we have done something to prevent this? And that's how I think. I'm like, okay, we got here. We need to manage this. And that's where the allopathic model stops. What we do, my team and I, is how did we get here? We need to manage this. But now we need to deconstruct and understand, how did we get here, and start peeling the layers and remove the obstacles for the body to heal. Everyone through our program will work with my health coach at doing an elimination diet of some sort. Clean up your diet. I tell people, put your big girl pants on, eat your vegetables, remove the junk. You're going to do that pretty strictly for a couple of weeks, not forever. And then they're going to do a detox, gentle detox. Sometimes people need to detox for 3 months, for 6 months. Some people, they detox for 6 weeks and oh my gosh, like everything gets better, right? So, and the body's ability to be resilient and heal. I am humbled every single week by the healing that I see, the healing capacity of the body, mind, body, spirit. I see people who come to me very discouraged. They haven't given up yet because they're in my office, but they are beat down by a system, by their chronic illness. They're spiritually bankrupt. And 6 months later, I see them step into their powers and they're tackling challenges in life that they've been wanting to do. They're traveling. I have this she's 76. I just saw her 2 days ago for her final follow-up in one of my programs. And she's sitting in the waiting room. She's all like this, talking with my nurse and my office manager, and she's smiling. She looks incredible. She's radiating. She's like, I just booked another cruise. I gardened for 8 hours this weekend. She's 76. She came to me 4 months ago. This was 4 months ago. She was gray, pale, completely depleted, convinced she was ruined forever because she had long COVID. I'm like, you ready to let go of that that diagnosis? I might let go of that code. I'm like, you just don't feel good. That's the box you're in. You feel like crap. That's the diagnosis I'm going to give you. I said, okay, you let it go. All right. You're not attached to that anymore, because people get attached to their diagnoses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, just let it go. You just feel like crap. We're going to help you. I don't know to what extent, I said, but we're going to help you. And she's so motivated and compliant. And so 4 months later, her weight has stabilized. She feels great. She has tons of energy. Her pain has almost completely resolved. She had brain fog to the point where I was potentially going to refer for dementia, Alzheimer's eval at UVA, because her memory issues were so significant. She's fine now. She has no problems with her memory. Yeah, in 4 months, this is what we did with this model, with the 5 pillars. I mean, her hormones were almost non-existent. She's 76. She should still have hormones. Women, please, even if you're postmenopause, perimenopause, you should have detectable levels of hormones. She had non-detectable levels of critical hormones. Balance her hormones. I didn't do that much. Like, my coaches did so much with her. I balanced her hormones. I addressed an infection she had, and that's it. I balanced her thyroid. I did 3 very simple things, part of my pillars. And now she's kicking butt. She's going on a cruise and she's talking about all the gardening she's going to do.
I mean, this is just such a beautiful example of what's possible when we allow, like, just give the environment that the body needs to heal, like just to start with something very simple, like the diet and the cleansing, and just really setting the body up for success, because the body is incredibly wise and is, designed to be able to heal itself. And it's just about how do we really give it that opportunity to do that. And I love how you're just bringing in these other pillars that are really supportive for people, because we need so much support when we're moving through chronic illness and pain, and it really addresses the mind, body, spirit aspect, which, in modern medicine we completely forget about that. Hey, we are spirit as well, and we need to nurture that as well, so that we can actually have more joy in our life and more fulfillment. And it's really difficult to have that if we're not feeling good, so we have to address that oftentimes first, and then but you're also addressing all these other pieces that make up who we are as a whole being. So I really love that. And we are up to another break, so I have so many more questions I want to ask, but I'm not going to ask them now, because I have a tendency to ask and then forget when we come back from break what I asked. So I'm going to hold on to that. And if you're listening, definitely reach out to me at thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com. I love to build community and hear from you. And if you know of anyone that wants to be on the show, or you want to be on the show, or if you want to be a sponsor of the show, we are really looking to grow this show globally and expand and offer more and more opportunities for women to thrive unapologetically. So I look forward to hearing from you, and we'll be right back after this short break.
All right, great segment. Back in 2.
Thank you. Okay, we have one segment left, and it always feels too short. So, So yeah, there's so many different things to talk about. So I would love to talk a little bit about, maybe even women in chronic disease, or even especially where we can go with this model of approach. Like, the corporate wellness program, I think could be, I really want to inspire people and like what's possible and what's coming um, in the future, and what
Sounds
you're
good.
what you're up to make that happen. Because I get
Yes.
excited when you talk about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited, especially after yesterday. I have so many resources now
Mm.
for myself to make this medicine accessible. I tell people, like, I'm building an empire and I want to just dominate Virginia for functional medicine. I want to make functional medicine available to the masses. Every company, every corporation, I want them to have access to this. Access is key right now. People can't find a practitioner. Oh, well, my primary care doesn't do this and doesn't know someone. We don't have anybody locally doing this. I'm like, fine. I'm going to convert this sort of hard to find, exclusive, sort of fancy functional medicine philosophy. I'm going to train as many people as I can, and I'm going to put that in every single company in Virginia, and hopefully then continue to expand into the country. And I have plans to,
Oh, here we are going back.
yeah,
All right, coming back in 10.
yeah, I want my model everywhere.
You're listening to Women Thriving Unapologetically with Lynsie McCowan. Have a question for Lynsie or her guests? Want to share your story? Email Lynsie at thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com. That's thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com. Now back to the show. Here again is Lynsie.
Hello and welcome back to Women Thriving Unapologetically. We are here with Melanie Dorian. And Melanie, we have a very short segment left, so I want to dive right back in. And, the services that you offer are, phenomenal, and you're having such incredible results. And, you know, currently what you're offering is a little bit out of reach and a stretch for a lot of people, and especially the population that relies heavily on health insurance. And as you mentioned, you have members that come in and they may be ready, but there could be this obstacle, like we can't afford these services right now. And I know you have this bigger mission, like you have this incredible model that you've created, and you're seeing that you really want to get it out there. So what is next? Like, how can we get this model out there in a way that is affordable for the masses?
Thank you about that, because I've been working really diligently now for, it's almost 5 years, at creating a corporate wellness program that is based in the functional Be Vital philosophy. And my goal is to get this into as many companies as possible in Virginia, in the US. And so make this philosophy, this functional medicine Be Vital philosophy, accessible to the masses. We're in a huge healthcare crisis. I think we can all agree with that. But really, one of the bigger crises is the cost of healthcare for employers and employees. But employers right now are getting buried by increased costs, which have gone up by 30-40% for them, for the employers. And we're mandated, right, to like offer health, or not mandated, but like there's employers offer health insurance. And right now, the current model is the big Anthem, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Optima, and people don't know that there's any other options. The cost to offer that to an employee is becoming cost prohibitive. It is not a strategy that is sustainable long-term right now with the cost to the employers. So what I've done is I've created a solution that employers can implement into their company and do chronic disease prevention, or chronic disease identification, prevention, and or management, so that all companies have a wellness solution that they have access to. So what I do is I come into a company, and it's voluntary, so employees can participate if they want to. And then we do very targeted, very specific functional testing to identify key risk factors for chronic diseases. And then they work with the health coaches. Again, it's a diet, lifestyle coaching first model. They work with the coaches at changing their diet, working at stress management, quitting smoking, any other, like if they need to reduce their alcohol intake. So they work at all these risk factors, diet and lifestyle risk factors with the coaches. And then when we get the lab results, we really get confirmation of certain disease processes. And then we start working. I put, again, it's a little bit of medicine, it's not a model where it's medicine first, it's a diet and lifestyle program first. So what I do then is I work with the coaches, or the provider who's evaluating these results works with the coaches to make sure that proper diet and lifestyle strategies are implemented. And then we also start looking at what else medically can be done. How more closely do we need to work with the primary care provider to help this person? What can we do with other strategies to prevent this from turning into diabetes? Is an easy example, because it's estimated that 80% so about 35% of the population has blood sugar issues. And 80% of those don't know they have it. So there's millions of people walk around with blood sugar issues, diabetes or non-diabetes, pre-diabetes, and they don't know it. So a big part of what I do is that's one of the things that I help identify. And when there is a blood sugar issue, then I work really closely with clearly that employee and the health coaches to implement a strategy that's diet and lifestyle based to reverse that. And my corporate wellness program is a year-long program. So if you're an employer and you're listening to this and you're just really frustrated with the increase in healthcare costs, well, it's valid, because the data is really crazy. The increase, the burden, the financial burden to the employers, but there are strategies out there. And I just recently I had the privilege to be invited to talk about my corporate wellness program in a group, a consortium of people who have all pooled their resources and their knowledge together. And it's part of an independent, private, self-funded insurance. So outside of the traditional insurance model, outside of the big, Optima, Anthem, Blue Shield, you name it, outside of that, it's private insurance. And they are providing better care to their employees at a much lower cost. And now what we're looking to do is to put a wellness chronic disease prevention solution into these insurance plans that are non-traditional, self-funded, or private insurance plan, so that every company can have access to at least prevention. Because again, allopathic medicine, their goal is to diagnose disease and manage the symptom or the disease. It's not to prevent it. That is not what they do. But this model now starts looking at allowing the primary care providers more time to start looking and thinking about disease prevention, and then including a corporate wellness program like mine that is aimed specifically at identifying, preventing, and reversing chronic diseases. So now, like, corporations, companies, employees have access to better primary care and to preventive care and more holistic management care if there is a chronic disease. So there are options, and I want to give you hope, not just that there's a different way of managing chronic diseases, but if you're an employer or you're an employee, ask your employer to change what they're doing. Request it. If more and more employees say, I do not want to pay this darn copay or whatever it is every month with Anthem or with Optima or Blue Cross Blue Shield, be done with it. It is our responsibility as consumers to be educated and to say no. And I tell people, like, for example, women in medicine, we have been gaslit for years. We are being gaslighted that everything's normal, yet we don't even get testing. We don't even get proper referral. Again, this is not a conspiracy theory. The data supports it, that women are being gaslit in medicine. Well, also consumers of healthcare, we are being gaslit that there's no other solution. That's just how it is. You're going to pay $600 a month and your employer is going to have to pay, $600 also for no
And it
care.
might not even cover everything that you need.
Exactly.
So,
no access.
Yeah. And so, I had this vision when you were talking. I often see things when people are speaking, and I see this health insurance as this force that is just gorging itself on greed. And it's just pushing itself. It's going to kill itself because it's so greedy, is what I feel is happening. And I love how you're like, you're not going to change the healthcare system or the health insurance companies. What you're doing is you're coming in kind of from the side door and saying, okay, I'm going to come in to these corporations and start offering them another solution. And then when you have access to these corporations and they're starting to change the way that they provide healthcare for their employees, then it's going to undermine the power that these health insurance companies have. It's going to start to, and they're going to start to have to pay attention because money, like for them, because they're so greedy, when they're hit in their pocketbooks, then they're going to start to pay attention. So I love this
Correct.
approach because you're actually approaching the problems that we're having with our healthcare system by actually helping to support people in a really deep and nurturing way and giving them back power and helping to re-educate them on what is actually possible. So I really love this approach.
Yeah, there needs to be a huge re-education. There are options. Employers do have options. They can turn to these self-funded insurance companies, insurance plans, and private insurance plans, and just decline the narrative that they're going to have to be paying and wasting, in some instances, millions of dollars. One of the examples that was shared yesterday is someone, an employee, needed to get imaging done and was in the hospital, and the physician in the ER said, okay, just walk down the hall and go get your MRI there. And one of the things that they say in the private insurance world is never listen to walk down the hall and do whatever. Don't. Get a second opinion and then call us, right? Yeah, like nurse navigators or nurse coordinators or people who are helping coordinate care in the private insurance realm. And sure enough, he's like, no, I'm not walking down the hall. So he calls his nurse coordinator, nurse navigator. She found a hospital down the street who provides better, higher quality orthopedic care. And the imaging was going to be about $2,200. He got that imaging done for $800. So the cost to the insurance plan went from $2,200 to $800 in a better hospital. And he saw an orthopedist that day to receive care. And the other hospital was saying it's probably going to be about 2 weeks for you to see the top orthopedist that we have for this, whatever going on. So this is what is happening, and this is what's possible when you actually pull resources, you work together, you work collaboratively, and you're not just invested in greedy and in the finances, where you actually want better outcomes and better care to your employees. So, but it's only because they had a private insurance or self-funded insurance plan at this company that the employee was able to receive better care. And this was the nurse navigator, nurse coordinator, who was telling me this story because she coordinated that care. She's like, let me make a couple phone calls. No, definitely do not get the MRI down the hall. We're going to get you better quality care. Potentially, it could have been that was the best care, but because
this is a really great model because it's really, this is Women Thriving Unapologetically. We talk often about this. This is about collaboration and a new way of doing things, and what is nurturing and sustainable and generative. And so what you're doing is offering all of this for and a new approach to wellness. And I really appreciate that. And I know we're right up at the very end of our show. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that they can contact you through Be Vital Health, and definitely reach out to Melanie because she has so many things to offer. And she has also the free educational classes that you can drop in on. And so with this last few seconds, can you say in just a couple of words what thriving unapologetically means to you?
It's really a place where women totally share how they've stepped into their power and just continue to inspire other women to continue doing that. Own your power, step into it. Ladies, you know what's in your heart, and you need to execute that, because when we're not, we're doing a disservice to so many people on the planet. And this is a platform that just allows women to share that. How have we stepped into our feminine and into our power, and what are we doing about it? And this is just a place to inspire women. And that's what it means to me, is just an opportunity. It's been such a privilege to be able to share that from my perspective and my lens, but this is what this show is.
Yes. So thank you. So definitely reach out to Melanie Dorian at Be Vital Health. And yeah, I look forward to having you back on the show and hearing how things progress. And so if you're listening, definitely reach out and stay connected, because this is a community of women that are rising and thriving together. So my friends, we will be back here next week at the same time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Until then, many blessings and much love.
All right, awesome show. Good job. All clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We were cutting it really tight there at the end, so I'm sorry I interrupted you. I always hate to interrupt, but I was like,
No, it's
okay,
okay.
I want to make sure we got the little plug in there at the end for Be Vital. And yeah, thank you. That was
Thank
such a
you.
great conversation. So exciting. And
It was a good,
it's nice to
really good conversation.
feel like, uplifted about our healthcare system, because it's so easy to get drugged down by it all and the heaviness of it and the enormity of the and the complexity of the issues that we're having with it, and to see that there's someone out there that's like really leading the way. So thank you for leading the way for that. And I know, like, life kind of kicked you in the pants and took you off the rail of becoming that Olympic athlete, but I think the universe knew that there was a spark in you that needed some
I
to,
needed to be prepared in that way, really. I just
yeah.
saw it for preparation for what I'm tackling now and for what's to
Mhm.
come. I really truly believe that someone who's not an athlete could not do what I'm doing. Like the endurance and the stamina that I developed through being an athlete, the resiliency of getting back on when I fall off the bike, which when you're mountain bikes almost every time. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
how it is, right? So for me, I'm like, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Where someone
Uh-huh.
else would get really discouraged and beat down from that. And so, I mean, God in the universe, whatever your belief system is, like for me, it's just prepared me and knew what I needed to
Mhm.
acquire in terms of and develop in what's inside of me so that I can tackle what's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm tackling a beast. I'm tackling a huge, dysfunctional,
Uh-huh.
greedy, male dominated monster. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, wow, it's a bunch of like guys with gray hairs, like smoking cigars and drinking whiskey doing this. Like, what on earth? Like when we went from ICD-9 codes to ICD-10 years ago,
Mhm.
the number of codes that were lost for women's diagnoses and primary care is astounding. And the number of increase in orthopedic diagnostic codes is just, it's out of balance. We lost a whole bunch of codes. Like I can't even diagnose a woman with progesterone deficiency. It's a real thing, people.
Wow.
You can diagnose someone with testosterone deficiency because it's a male hormone.
Yeah.
Women have it too. I can't put a diagnostic code that says progesterone deficiency in women. It doesn't exist anymore. It used to. There's a bunch of other diagnostic codes that we've lost. So this is just a little part of like this big beast and this big machine. But we have to disrupt it. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing. But I really believe that without being a previously highly competitive athlete, I would not be able to sustain this. Like the hits I take every week when I do this but I'm like, just get up back on the bike. Sometimes my dad reminds me, when I feel beat down and discouraged, he's like, just get back on the bike. He's like, if there's one thing you know how to do is get back on the bike. I'm like, oh, you're annoying me right now. But fine, I'm getting back on
It
the bike.
sucks when they're right.
But yeah, so there was a reason, right, for this. And like what's to come is a bit of a bear.
Yeah.
But healthcare is not going to change, especially not for chronic diseases. I mean, I live with multiple, so I know the reality of that one. I have a member, she's 15 years now into her multiple sclerosis diagnosis, which is, you're like it's a death sentence. You're diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. You've got lesions in your brain and your spinal cord. It's going to progress. You're going to degenerate. You're going to die young. It's going to be horrible. You're going to lose your ability to use your limbs. Like, I mean, literally, this is like the future that is painted for these people. 6 months into a program, we're reversing her lesions. She had pain and numbing in one arm, in her left arm and hand for years, that after 6 months of management has now returned. And the other thing she said is they have categorized multiple sclerosis as a disability. She's not disabled, but it's a disability. If you have a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, you're considered effectively a disabled human. So she is now hesitant when she applies for a new job to disclose her diagnosis, her chronic disease, her autoimmune disease, because they could put her in a category, may be hesitant to pursue because she's categorized because of how it degenerates and how it progresses with the traditional allopathic model. So she's being completely, I mean, she's medically abandoned. I tell people,
Mm.
so like, well, that's it. You're going to be on super crazy, strong and expensive injectable immunosuppressants. And we're just, hope for the best for you.
Wow.
Yep. And now she's put in this box and I'm like, nah, I'm like, okay, yeah, you may have lesions in your spinal cord. Just let go of the diagnosis. I told her, I'm like, again, you feel like crap. That's a diagnosis. Let's just get you better.
I love how you mentioned that before, and because it's like we get so identified to um, our pain or the diagnosis, because and this is a real disservice for the the medical community when they just like, oh, they put you in that box and they label you, and as soon as that label's on you, then you start to identify with it, and that impairs your ability to actually open up to your healing potential in a lot of ways. And so
Yep.
I love how you're just like, nope, you're just like, nope, just
Let it go.
yes, you don't feel good right now, but we're gonna work on this.
Yeah. I have
Mm.
people who say, my fibromyalgia, my
Oh yeah.
depression. I'm
Hmm.
like, are you ready to let it go?
Yeah.
Like, you may have some of these symptoms. You may have pain right now, but like, you're making it yours. Are you ready to let it go? Okay,
Hmm.
let's let it go.
Yeah.
Like, so, but it's a mindset, right?
Hmm.
We do mind, body, spirit medicine, but that's part of the mind and spirit piece that we do as the
Hmm.
health coaches, and I are looking for those narratives. How are you
Yeah.
using language? Oh, but I just said that. I was like, no, language is pertinent.
Hmm.
How you word things and how you view yourself and how you communicate that, written or verbally, is actually pertinent. That's what you're putting out there to the universe. That's what you're putting in yourself
Hmm.
again. So I said, let it go. It's not yours. This
Yeah.
is just, you have those symptoms. It is not yours. It's not your diagnosis. I don't tell people my autoimmune diseases. I said, I live with, immune imbalances and I have autoimmune diseases. They're not, I'm happy to let them go. And I've reversed a
It's
lot.
not who you are.
No, I don't
Yeah.
identify
Yeah.
with them. I'm honest about it, and
Hmm.
I'm not going to ignore them and not talk about it, because a
Yeah.
big part of healing is to don't hide it. I had so much shame for years about my chronic illnesses and
Hmm.
about some of the things that plagued me, and then I put my story out there. And the first time that, before I called them member, I was seeing patients, right? The first time a patient read my story, well, the first time someone came to me and said, I read your story and it may have saved my life because it gave me hope. The
Hmm.
first time someone said that to me, I realized the power of storytelling and the power of sharing all the suffering and the shame and all of it. And I put it all out there now. I'm like, wow, I was a hot mess. I do not have my
So
ducks in a row.
yeah, it's so important to share our stories because, when we hide those parts of ourselves, we're really falling into that idea that we have to be perfect, and that whole it's just dripping with patriarchy and conditioning that, oh, we have to fit a certain model. And if we don't, but when we share our stories, we actually, oh, wait a second, we're all in this. We're experiencing a lot of the same things. It gives us permission to be vulnerable. It gives us permission to to really open ourselves up to get the support that we need and to really heal some of the not just what we're experiencing in that moment, but some of those deeper wounds. So I think and sharing the story really gives people hope, like you said, and that woman said it saved her life. So I appreciate you sharing your story with everyone. And I'm looking through there's just a few comments. There's no actually specific questions, but people definitely want me to share your contact information with Be Vital, which I will do in the group. And you're always welcome to join the group if you want to come in and share any other information. We really want the group to be a place where we're sharing resources for women.
Yeah. And
And
the website is the place to go. We have an
yeah.
events tab where we have seminars and webinars, so in-person presentations and webinars,
Yeah, and you have
education.
one coming up on the 22nd, so it's
Yeah,
right
it's
around the corner.
focused on hormones. Dr. Cope, she's a naturopathic physician, hormone specialist, women's health specialist, fertility specialist. She's super, super inspiring and does incredible, incredible work. She just recently looked at my hormones, got a bit of work to do. It's always humbling.
Lord have mercy, hormones, I tell you.
I
It's
know
so
the
much
thing
fun.
is, woman, you have superpowers. When your hormones are balanced, we literally are designed with superpowers, hormonal superpowers. But when they're out of balance, it's a bloody curse. So if you don't feel good, for sure, as a woman, your hormones are not optimal. And it's not just the sex hormones, right? It's not just the estrogen, the progesterone. When I talk hormones, I talk thyroids, thyroid hormones, metabolic hormones, but of course the sex hormones, stress hormones, cortisol, your adrenalines, all those. That's what hormones are. There's a lot of them. And it's a symphony. And you only need one squeaky violin to make that orchestra sound really bad.
Mhm.
So hormones are, for women, they're a more intricate and delicate balance. And we are a lot more prone to toxins because of that, because a lot of toxins that have increased in the last 50 years are endocrine disrupting chemicals, and they're toxins that disrupt our hormones. So women, we are a little bit at a higher risk for environmental toxins because of that.
Mm.
So, but when you balance the hormones, man, like women are unstoppable and we legit have superpowers. So the twice a month when we have a spike in testosterone, which we have women, when even after menopause, women, you're still cycling, your hormone levels are just not as high and as low to trigger a period, but you're still cycling hormones. But the testosterone spikes that we have twice a month, when a woman's body is balanced and not depleted and run ragged, the testosterone levels, we spike higher than what an average man will put out.
Mm.
So we have 2 spikes in testosterone in a cycle that allows us to reduce inflammation, to be productive, to heal the body. Testosterone, think about it as a driver. It's not just sex drive. It drives everything. It drives healing. It drives motivation. So your cognition is on point. You're creative. You have more energy. This is when you should be like pushing harder at work and training harder if you're an athlete, doing more, being more creative. And then you have a period of rest, the 7 to 10 days of just resting, nurturing. And then you have another spike in testosterone where you can again be a lot more creative, push harder. So if we balance things according to our hormones, women legit have superpowers.
Mm.
Like,
I love
mhm.
that.
Oh yeah,
Yay.
yes. Step into that power hormones. But
Yeah.
again, we've been gaslit that one, where you're a woman, so you're an ICD-10 code just by being a woman. You're a disease, you're a diagnosis. And because we have hormones, and then what they do is they prescribe us inappropriate hormones, or they prescribe us hormonal contraception to, oh, we'll just regulate your period. No, it's not regulating your period. You're putting synthetic hormones into me to stop actually my cycle. So, we've been gaslit about our hormones for
Mm.
years, that's the only thing that can be done. No, there's lots of stuff that can be done to manage your hormones, to work on inflammation, to prevent chronic issues. You don't have to live with debilitating PMS or PCOS or endometriosis. Like, that's just BS. Like, but again, we don't know that we have a lot of other options. So it's a big part of my mission at Be Vital is education and community outreach, just to make this available. I'm
Mhm.
sponsoring a team right now of women. There's 7 or 8 of us. We're doing a whole series of, there's a trail series in the Charlottesville, Virginia area, where every month there's a trail race. People run and hike it. And I'm sponsoring a team of all women join. And I'm telling women, I'm like, just go and share your story.
Mm.
Walk, hike, race, compete, do whatever you want, show up, wear the shirt. We have these like beautiful, like my one of my colors in my logo is a beautiful turquoise. So we have turquoise shirts. So we're bright, everyone can see us.
That's right.
And I tell women, just share your story. Share
Mhm.
your story. Just share your story, because you don't know how you're going to save someone by just sharing your story. So
Yeah.
we're just out there advocating for women and for people with chronic illnesses. I don't just manage women. We have men, but 75% of our members are women.
Mm.
So, and just, work at sharing our
Yeah.
stories and inspiring other people.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm going to stop record right now because I realize I'm still recording, which is great because we'll have extra to share. So if you're listening on the Facebook group, thank you so much for being here. And if you have questions, you can go ahead and keep dropping them into the group and we'll have Melanie answer them for you.